Hello everyone and welcome back to the Forge Within podcast, where we have real people telling real stories about how mental health has shaped their lives, and hopefully together we can start changing the stigma around mental health. So on today's show, I'm joined by Gethin Hayward. He's here to share his story and some of the experiences that have shaped his life. And like many people, Gethin's journey hasn't been straightforward by any means. It includes difficult experiences growing up, moments that challenged his sense of safety and identity, and the process of finding stability and support through the people who stepped into his life along the way. We will explore Gethin's story, the early experiences that shaped him, the struggles he faced, and what he's learned about resilience, belonging, and mental well-being. And I really do hope that by sharing these conversations like we do every single week, to anyone who is listening who may be going through their own struggles, might hear something that resonates with them. So without further ado, Gethin, thank you for being here.
Hello. How are you?
I'm very fine. Very good. Thank you very much. It's amazing to have you on the show. You were one of Lloyd's friends, so he's been telling me tons about you, and me and you have been speaking as well. So I'm really excited to have you on the show, and I know that your story it's an emotional one, but
Yes.
it's very important for people to hear it, because a lot of people go through what you have been through, and I know they're going to find strength in how you've carried yourself forward.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree.
Fabulous. So what I want to do, I just want to start, right, for anyone who doesn't know who Gethin is. Who is Gethin Hayward?
Oh, it's a difficult question already. My name's Gethin Hayward. I am 20 years old. I live in Wales. What a great place to be. Currently studying musical theatre, again, with Lloyd, as you probably know from previous week's podcast. I live with my family. I do musical theatre, like I said. Nothing really special about me. I'm just your average guy living the vida loca.
Living the Viva Loca. There's something special about everyone, but I think that's quite interesting to hear you say that there's nothing special now when you've had all those things go on beforehand. So it'd be really interesting as we go through now, the way that you open the show and saying, I'm just, nothing really interesting about me. I think at the end of it, people will be going, well, there's a lot interesting about you, about your story, definitely. So what I want to do, I want to start, I want to go right back to the beginnings when we talk about this, is trying to understand where it all started from, because I think that's where the biggest elements are within anyone's story. So growing up, when we spoke previously, you mentioned about being seen as the odd or naughty child. But what did that look like for you?
I think from a young age, just liking the things that I liked when I was younger, I didn't kind of fit into any kind of stereotype. Obviously, before I transitioned, obviously we'll go into that a bit later, but when I was a young little gal, I didn't fit those stereotypes. I wasn't like any average other girl when I was that age. I was very different in school. I was very outspoken. I dressed a bit differently, and I didn't really kind of want to fit into those norms. And I think that is kind of what started my whole journey, was just being a different character and not kind of, again, just being in a box, if that makes sense.
No, I totally get that. And it's interesting because we've just touched on it slightly as well, but you were born as a biological woman, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you said that you were like the naughty kid, can you explain it? Because you said about how you thought you were dressed odd, but in regard to naughty.
So, like, I was always told that I was naughty. I was always told that I never listened and I always lied, and I was a compulsive liar. It obviously it's not true, but because I was told that, I believed it. And I feel like when you're a younger child, if you're told something for such a long time, you believe it, especially if people that are closest to you are telling you that you're a compulsive liar and that you're naughty, then, well, obviously you're going to believe that. If you tell someone they're a potato for their whole life, they're going to think they're a potato. Do you know what I mean? So that's where that stemmed from. And I think because I had that kind of over my head the whole time, I think I was for a long period of time, because I was told that all the time. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, because you are basically what you believe. If I was saying to someone that, or let's talk from a mental health perspective, right? If you keep saying to yourself, "I'm anxious, I'm anxious, I'm anxious, I'm anxious, I'm anxious, I'm anxious," you will become anxious. If you think
Yeah.
that I'm a failure, I'm a failure, I'm a fuck up, I'm a failure, I'm a fuck up, all these things over and over and over, then the likability is you will become what you perceive to be. So if you were being reinforced the message that you are naughty, then yeah, you would obviously believe that, especially during the early years where the fundamentals or the foundations are so important when you're young.
Yeah, absolutely. And it completely stemmed from that. I was told so often those things that anything other than that wasn't good enough for me. Like any attention was good attention when you're younger. That's true for anyone, regardless of who they are or where they come from. Kind of any attention from a parent or from a teacher is good attention because you're getting attention from someone, regardless of whether it's positive or negative. And it became a thing of I'd want that attention because I didn't feel like I was getting that at home. So I felt like I needed to kind of search for that in any possible way, which then I then became the class clown. And it was difficult because I wasn't heavily disliked by anyone, but equally at the same time, I didn't have a lot of friends. So I was more like a floater.
It really is interesting because I've spoke previously about how as parents it's so important that when we use our words and how we express ourselves, that we are very careful in how we talk to children and how we express our feelings to them. We can do it in a way. I talk about obviously sharing my experience of mental health, but I don't turn around and say to my son, "You're a failure, you're a mess up," and try this harder and always on him all the time. Because when you're younger, like I just said, it's like being an empty cloud. That's why I tend to look at it like you're like an empty cloud, and the more that you put into it, it starts getting darker and darker and darker. So you need to make sure that you're really being careful with how we communicate with the words that we use. So, and then obviously that leads to generational trauma, and then we go on from there as well. Then, but when did you start? When did you start feeling like you were different from the other kids? How old was you?
I would say that I was probably in year 6, I would say. I think a lot of things happened at once. I started feeling kind of dysphoric about my body. And I can remember like little moments of like periods of things happening. And then over time, I was like, oh my God, something's wrong with me. Something is scarily worrying about me. Like I got so in my head about it. And again, like I said, you tell someone for so long, they're going to believe it. And I remember a couple of things happening in, I can't remember when this was because a lot of my childhood is just a blur. I can only remember specific like moments, but I remember being told that I had to go to the doctors and tell them that I was a sociopath in order to get some help. And that was a massive thing for me because, well, first of all, I believed it, but there was something in my head. I was like, this isn't right. Again, I can't give you an age that I was at that time, but it just speaks to me because it's something that I remember so vividly. I remember being told that, and I had to go to the doctors and be like, I'm a sociopath. I need help. And then I remember being told by my family member that I don't need to talk to somebody. Somebody needs to talk to me to get it out of me, to fix me. And that was an awful experience. It was nasty. I look back and I'm like, Christ alive, how did I even survive that? It was awful. And then I remember this really random one time. I I look back now and it makes sense. And I'll go into that a detail in a bit later. But I remember going to the dentist, really random, and I'd been brushing my teeth really well. And then the dentist was like, you're brushing your teeth really well. And then I stopped brushing my teeth very well. And it was turned into this massive thing of you've just got praise. And now you've had that praise, you're going to turn it into something negative because that's how your brain works. And it's not the case. It's just I had ADHD and that's what happens. You just can't do things for a long period of time. But it was specific things like that. And I was like, it's not actually that deep. What part of being a parent do you want your child to be a sociopath instead of being neurodivergent? Why would you wish that on somebody and want that for them instead of something that I don't think that there's anything wrong with being autistic or being or anything like that. So why you would want your child to be something other than that and not go to that first thing is beyond me.
I think acceptance is the big thing. I think a lot of parents, they look at the social norm of what kids should be, and when they show any signs of being different, then they feel embarrassed, but that's their problem at the end of the day. Neurodivergency is a big thing within modern day society.
Yeah.
I think the more that there's studies coming out now, we're seeing more and more children being diagnosed with autism, Asperger's, ADHD. When I was in school, there were children 100% who were on the spectrum, and they were displaced as naughty children. And that method then is carried, or that opinion is carried then through into the family, then through to your friends. And I think that leads into the next question is, do you think the people misunderstood you when you were growing up?
100%. I think the people closest to me at that time definitely misunderstood me. And I think that my safe haven then was going to school. Even though I didn't have a great experience in school, it was much better for me personally than being at home. I really enjoyed it. I got to do drama, and I often found that I was like in the teacher's classroom at lunchtime because people were just so different to me, and there was something wrong with me, and I couldn't for the life of me think about why my brain worked a certain way. And I think the teachers understood me because there was periods of time where I tried to talk about what was happening at home, and from my personal experience, the emotional abuse side of it. And it was very difficult because I didn't know that I was being emotionally abused, because I just thought that there was something wrong with me. So I'd go to like the support workers or whatever, and I'd be like, something's wrong with me. Something's wrong with me, and I don't know what to do about it. And I get so upset, and I couldn't find the words to kind of explain what I was going through, because I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't realize that I was living with a narcissist. I didn't, like, who does at that age, like in your teens or whatever. But I think that to some extent the teachers kind of understood what was going on, but there wasn't anything that they could do about it, because then when they brought that person in, I'd completely shut down. And I'd go back on everything I'd said, and I'd be like, I'm sorry. I know I need to fix this. I need to take myself to the doctors and fix it. And it just became a back and forth thing. But like, I'm massively grateful for the teachers that I did have, because I think they understood me a lot more than the people that were in my home at that time.
So the teachers, when you think about people who can understand you internally, was it anyone else? Was it just the teachers, or was it other people as well?
What, who understood me?
Understood you internally, because again, that's the thing, as you go into that change as well, is seeing you on the outside, but also what you're feeling inside. That's where the most emotions are.
No, there wasn't. There wasn't anyone that I had that was understanding, or somebody that could tell me otherwise, if that makes sense. So there was nobody in my life that could have turned around and been like, well, hang on a minute, have you ever thought about it this way? And maybe you're not the issue. Like, you're just a normal child. And I literally was. I was no more naughtier than any other child, or misbehaved or anything like that. I didn't see a difference. But I think then when I started to realize small things like punishments and things like that, they were vastly different to my peers at that time. I just remember not being understood by anyone, but then there was little bits that I was like, oh my God, these little things shouldn't necessarily be happening in my life. What's this? And then I just thought, well, all parents are different. Like, some people have like consequences and things like that. So I didn't really, there just wasn't anyone there. I was just on my own. And it was an awful feeling, knowing that there was something wrong with me and there was nothing I could do about it. There was no way out for me, and it just didn't, I just couldn't do anything about it. That's literally how it was. There was no one I could go to or anything.
When I look at behaviour, when I see some behaviour, it's just another communication that nobody else is listening to. That's one of the biggest things that I see. I work in an ALN school, and you see like children there, and we don't use the word naughty. We use the word misunderstood, and that they're trying to express themselves in a different way. So it's really important when we're parents or when we've had friends and we look at someone's behaviour and it's erratic and they don't understand, we need to try and look deeper of what's not on the outside, but what's actually going on the inside and how they're actually perceiving themselves to get through the situations. But
Absolutely, yeah.
if you haven't got a network around you that can do that, I was very, very lucky. I had my grandfather, I had my mother, and a few other people who were there, and I still tripped up along the way. Hence why my story with the podcast is here now. But yeah, if you didn't have that, guess there's no wonder why you started having these internal feelings of negativity towards your own self and everything.
Because there was only about 3 people in my family network. It was just us, and it was vicious. It was. I just felt so misunderstood, and I was longing for so much love, and I didn't feel like I was getting it. But then in thinking that, I was like, what the hell's wrong with me? I've got everything I need. I've got a roof over my head, and I get taken on nice days out. And, my childhood, in the sense of material things, yeah, it was good. We went on holidays, we went on days out. But the reality is, those material things are nothing without the emotional connection that you should have with a parent. And when those days out are paired with kind of being told all these negative things about yourself and being told not to play up and not ruin it for everybody else, those things mean nothing, which is why I believe I've had a really difficult bringing up, because without having that connection with somebody, well, there's no point. There's no point in going on these holidays and doing all of these nice things. It just doesn't add up.
Yeah,
It doesn't make any sense, yeah.
Materialistic things, in my opinion, yes, they're good to look and feel the part, but in regards of the emotional stability of talking to your child and everything, there is absolutely zero comparison. Yeah, you need. I know that, like with my boys, rather, they would rather me be there to speak to them in the good times and in the bad times as well, than turn up to their concert or buy them a brand new PlayStation or put all these materialistic things. They, in the big scale of actually being there emotionally, there is absolutely zero comparison. So if you felt that you didn't have that at all, you were not being taught from a young age those fundamental lessons of warmth and love and connection. And then those when you don't have those skill sets or foundational blocks, then when you carry them through into later adulthood or later teens, then you start stumbling.
Absolutely. So I was told that I could always talk to this person, and specifically, always told that. But then there was little things that told me that I couldn't. It was a really scary thing to understand. I wanted to talk to people about it, and sometimes I would try, and it was flipped, it's always a mental health excuse. You're there's nothing for you to be stressed about. You've got a great life. You don't need anybody else in your life other than me. Especially with my biological father, I'd often try and talk about him, and it was a case of, you don't need him. He, in the nicest, and I remember being told this, in the nicest of respects, I wanted to have contact with him. And I was told that, well, the nicest respect, he doesn't necessarily want you. He just wants to get through you to get to me. That kind of thing, which was like a dagger. It was a very difficult thing. And then get picked on things like the way I'd hug. I'd get told that I'm putting all my weight on somebody and it's not nice. Being told that, I don't necessarily want to transition to be a boy, that I just hate my body and I don't want my body, so I want to be a boy just so I can be somebody else. Things like that then told me that I couldn't talk to that person and I couldn't go to them for that support. And it was because I wasn't hearing what I wanted to hear. I wanted to be supported and loved and cared for and be told, it's okay, I'm here to support you. And I don't think I ever wanted complete understanding or complete change of, like, I don't know, I guess pronouns and my name change. It wasn't necessarily that. It was just that understanding and just being like, I understand what you're going through. This is also difficult for me, because I don't think that there's anything wrong with saying that. I fully understand that it's hard for parents to kind of let go of a child that they had before and then move on to kind of completely change the whole world about it. I get that to a certain extent. However, there comes a point where it's your child and you should love them unconditionally. And if you can't do that, regardless of what they might turn out to be when they're older, whether or not they want to go into performing arts, or they are transgender, or they have, or they are neurodivergent, if you can't love them unconditionally, then you shouldn't have kids. And that's something that I hold quite close, because if you're not willing to give your all into a child and love and support them through everything that they're going through, then you're going to be doing them a disservice by bringing them into this world if you can't take care of them, regardless of materialistic things. You know?
I think it's very well said then, because again, we go down this road of, with the Forge method then teaching at the moment, we go through the stage of denial, acknowledgement, accountability, acceptance, and then stabilization and empowerment. And when you were speaking then, and I'm trying to put myself in a situation where if my child was going through your kind of circumstances, and there is no right or wrong answer when it comes to parenting is very, very difficult, and there is no guide to parenting.
Yeah.
But when you love your child unconditionally, you want what's best for them. So it's trying to work out then what they want and navigating them and coaching them through that experience to find what their best part is. But I think with most parents, they get stuck in this denial stage where, well, no, that ain't happening. And I only want a daughter. I don't want a son, and their feelings then get caught up in the middle of what really matters is the child's feelings. And I think if I went into that stage, then the acknowledgement, they could acknowledge it. But if you don't openly go to the next stage and think, well, look, I'm accountable for the feelings of how I'm perceiving this, and I need to accept that my daughter wants to become a son, he wants to transition over that, and then that allows you then. But there is a period called a stabilization period where things will be tricky for a period of time, because obviously you're trying to adjust to new dynamics and everything, and then you're allowed then together to be empowered and move forward. But again, I think for me, parents, I do agree, parents do need to look at their children and think what makes them happy. If it's not damaging their health, if they're not, if they were taking drugs, say for instance they were becoming a heroin addict and everything, then yeah, parents can intervene and go, I don't like the way they're going down. In regards to the world that we live in now about transitioning and the pronouns and everything, then you should be empowered to do whatever you want. I really don't see a problem with diversity at all. Like I said to you previously, like the neurodivergent life that we live in at the moment, ethnicity, racism, all these things, it is totally irrelevant because it's the person inside.
Absolutely. And at that point, it wouldn't be like you're not losing anything. You might be losing a daughter, but you're gaining a son. And it's also, I'm going to continue to say that it's not that deep. It's not a first world problem. Nothing bad is going to happen. Nothing will change your relationship because you love them for who they are, and who they are don't change. But you'll find, like, if there's parents out there who have trans children or children that are in the LGBTQ community, you don't lose a child because of their sexuality or their gender. You're allowing them to be more authentically themselves. And I think that really opens up a relationship farther beyond what you've already got. And I think that's really important, nowadays, where children are kind of, well, children and young adults, just everyone in general, are discovering that they are these things. And I don't think that the issue is people being trans or having a different sexuality. It's the fact that people don't know enough about it. That's what the issue is. And I think it's so important that and then there are so many facilities out there that parents can use and kind of access to understand. But again, like I said, it's not that deep. It's not the end of the world. Like do you know what I mean?
No, I totally get what you mean. I get it a bit in regards to things, the mental health and everything, is the fact that I still have people now turn around and go, what I'm doing at the moment is shit. Speaking to people, creating the workshops, creating the books and the podcast and everything. There's no such thing as mental health. Mental health is irrelevant. It doesn't affect anyone. People need to man up, grow up themselves. And that hurts. That really, really does hurt when I think about the amount of people that suffer and stuff. But again, they're a portion of people who you can't change their minds. You know,
Yeah.
that's the way that they are. But again, yeah, these topics, I think it comes down to it's their problem. It's when people say that I don't agree with this. Well, that sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. If you want to understand it more, go out, read a book or listen to a podcast or educate yourselves on the topic of what it actually means instead of being so black and white. Because I think within the valleys especially, and parts of Wales, and this goes around the world as well, but I'm just going to look at it from a valley perspective. We live in that old mining culture, man's a man, under the pit, and the generational family, generational trauma. And for some reason, if you are seen to be different in any form, you dress different, you look different or anything, you are seen as not being normal. Now, there is no such thing as normal. Normal is a bullshit word. Everyone is different and everyone's expressing their feelings. If it's not hurting, you might not agree with it. There's certain things that I don't agree with, right? Not with you, but with other things, right? But it doesn't affect me. So I'm not gonna turn around and tell you how to live your life because I'm not in a position to do that. If you're harming someone, right, then obviously I can turn around and go, well, but you shouldn't be doing that. You're really, really hurting them. But if you're doing something which is hurting my feelings, but you are happy to it, that sounds like a me problem. So I need to either remove myself from the situation or try to understand it better if I want to continue a relationship with that person.
Exactly. Like there are things in the LGBTQ community that I don't understand. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I can't be supportive and I can't be there for somebody and support somebody. You don't have to have a full understanding of something just to accept somebody for being who they are.
No, 100%. You with this change that you went through then, right? You said that you began living socially as a boy at 15. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes,
So
that's correct. Yeah.
What was that experience like for you personally?
So when I'll start a bit before that, just to kind of give you obviously, because I told you that I felt very, very different when I was younger. I didn't necessarily play with toys. I would rather be outside. I'd rather play outside. It was always like I never really played with anything in particular. Didn't really like toys. I'd rather play like pretend, or I'd want to be outside. I remember the one time I got gifted a baby Annabelle. I remember this. And I remember I just didn't want it, so I threw it in the road and the car ran over it. And I just didn't want it. I wasn't interested. I didn't want any of those things. And not necessarily that those were signs when I was younger, because I think, well, everybody's different. I didn't know that I was a boy at 2 years old, although some people do feel like that, and that's absolutely okay. But it wasn't the case for me. It was almost like a self-discovery, because I went to this like LGBTQIA thing in year 8, and it was a space for just people in that community. And my friend told me to come along, and I knew nothing about this. There were no gay role models in my life. Like, I knew about them, and I went to Pride the one time, which also makes no sense. I was taken to these events to see other people living their full lives and being their authentic selves. But as soon as that was me, absolutely not. And so I remember being like a lesbian for a while, and then a family friend, he's gay, and I still talk to him now. And he kind of like told me about the community and what it is and how special it is, and like all of the fantastic things about pride and all things like that. I remember having conversations with him about it, and I was like, this is what I felt was a little bit different about me. This is what made me kind of like who I am, I suppose. Not necessarily, like, I'm not just trans Gethin, I'm just Gethin who happens to be trans. But at that time, it was so important to me. And I then started telling a few people that I had closer friends, and I was like, this is how I feel. And they started using like he, him pronouns. And I was like, oh, it just feels so good. I don't know what, it was just great. And at that time, then my biological father had passed away, and I didn't use it to my advantage, but I was asking to get my hair cut for a long time. And I was told by my biological mother, like, just cut it gradually and whatever, keep cutting. And it just didn't make any sense. It was like, why would I keep cutting it? I'd have a bowl cut at some point. It's not attractive. I just wanted it all cut off. And then when my biological father passed away, she said to me, if there's anything I can do, let me know. The nicest thing she's probably ever fucking said to me. And I was like, I want my hair cut. And she was like, well, she couldn't really say anything. She asked. So I went and got my hair cut, but I went to like a hairdresser's and I had this awful haircut. Oh, it was vile. It was so bad. It was tragic. I don't even know what I looked like. It was just nasty. But even though I look back and I'm like, what the hell were you doing, Geth? It was one of the best feelings ever. I couldn't stop touching my hair. I couldn't stop like just playing with it. And I then went into school and I changed my name on the school register. I had to get permission, and my biological mother let me do that. Again, doesn't make any sense. And I always found that it was a case of, if you want to do this, you're doing this on your own. So she was like, you can take yourself to the doctors and you can sort it out yourself. She didn't want any part of it. So I did. I took myself to the doctors on my own at 15 or 16. I'm not too sure. I took myself to the doctors on my own. I booked myself an appointment, and I was like, I want to be added to the Welsh Gender Service. And they did. They added me onto the list, which was a massive moment for me because I was taking that back. I was taking back what I wanted and something that I wanted to do. So I did that. The way I dressed, I had always wore boys' clothes anyway, and it was always used against me. Well, I'd be like, why can't you use my name that I want to use? And I'd always get told, well, I let you wear these clothes. That's good enough for me. I'm letting you wear a suit to prom. So that's good enough for me. I've let you cut your hair. I've let you change your name. So all these things were happening and they were great, but they're the box standard parenting things. Do you know what I mean? Like, of course you're going to let your child wear what they want to wear. Of course you're going to let them get a haircut they want because it's their hair. Do you know what I mean? And it didn't go any further than that. And I bought myself my first pair of boxers. And when I was working, the first thing I bought as soon as I got paid, because I was like, this is what I want. And I remember being told, I always remember this, but I then had to hide them because if they were found, they would have been taken off of me. And I got told that you can only wear a pair of boxers once you have a pair of balls to fill them. And I was like, that just broke my heart. I was so upset and so confused about that. And then I started questioning my own self. And those were the moments where I only ever questioned what I wanted because I was being like, I was being made to question what I was feeling. So, and then I remember I was sat down and I was asked, are you sure this is what you want? You do realise you're going to have your tits chopped off and you're going to go through so many surgeries. They're going to be so scary and they're going to do this to you. And obviously being 15, I was scared to hear that because any child would, even if they are trans. That's a scary process. Like even now getting top surgery scares me because it is a major surgery. But I was told those things and it felt like I was being persuaded out of it. And this is when I was then told that you don't want to be a boy, that you just hate body. you hate being a girl, you hate being different, so you just want to be a boy just so you can try and fit in with a different category of people. It just blew my mind. And then my teacher started calling me by my preferred name at the time, but I changed. My name hasn't always been Gethin. I changed it the first time round, and I went by the name of Miles. Ugh.
Oh, okay.
I know. So I changed it the first time, and so people around me started calling me that. Some people didn't, but it was so big for me and so like opening that I realized I was picked on when I was a lesbian, but as soon as I came out as a boy, nobody had anything to say about it. Don't know why that happened. It was great. I'm not complaining about it, but just it didn't. I just didn't have that backlash from my peers.
Well, there's a few things to unpack there because one, it's fucking cruel to say that to you.
I know.
That it really is, because it's scaremongering, really.
Yeah.
So you're trying to scare someone into believing something, a perception of what you believe. And even if I didn't agree with something that the boys didn't agree with, I would sit down with them and we would look at the positives and we would look at the negatives, and then we would weigh it up. And I wouldn't try to portray my opinion on them, and I would turn around and say, look, you've viewed what I think, I viewed what you think. Now that you have the full amount of information, go and make a decision. But in order to scaremonger people, like that's a very, very cruel thing to say, especially when you've got a problem with your body. And the Bowles comment that you can't wear boxers. Fucking hell, do you know what I mean? If there's no bloody knickers in the house, Kelly chucks a pair of my boxers on.
Facts.
Do you know what I mean? So it's just it's a bullshit statement, really, to make you feel worse about the situation. And again, I'm not here to point fingers and say that shouldn't have happened, but I do agree with you that that's not it's not a nice thing to do, and it's not a nice thing to say. And I think that kind of answers the question I was gonna say, was that when you first obviously went and registered as a boy, and then they started calling you Miles, that moment was like really freeing, and you felt free in yourself. But at the same time, the challenges of your biological mother, saying that this is if you scaremongering you, basically, then that was a new challenge you perspective. So you want something really nice to happen to you, but then at the same time, you can't enjoy the experience.
Yeah. I think it got to that point, and then I was like, nah, I'm going to go to the barber's and I'm going to get a proper fresh trim. So I did. I took some of my own money. I went to the barber's with a friend at the time, and I got a fresh trim. I got a skin fade, and I felt like I passed, that I looked like a boy, because with the haircut I had before, oh God, again, terrible haircut, but it felt amazing. And I remember feeling terrified to go home. But obviously, like, I have to go home at some point. So I went home and I walked in and I was told that I looked like I had cancer. So I got told I looked like I had cancer and that I looked like a thug, and to get out of the house. So I did. I went to the park with my friend and I had a lovely time. It was great. And then I was then followed to the park and watched the whole time. And I'm like, this is fucking creepy. It's just fucking weird. Do you know what I mean? And then I just went back. It was as if nothing had happened. And that's something that I struggle to kind of deal with. Like, at the time, my biological mother was with a boyfriend during this time period. I can't give you a specific time or date, but he was also the same. He was there for all those conversations and things like that. I remember we went on this family holiday this one time, and it would have been like 3 stepsisters or something, like we weren't all on holiday together. And we had like glow sticks and we were trying to have a nice time. Like, it was a decent holiday. And I remember being in, like, we all shared a room, or whatever, and I had these glow sticks, and then I was told that I wasn't allowed to be in the room with the kids because of glow sticks. Because I had glow sticks, that would make me turn them gay. Makes
What?
no sense. Facts. I know. It's fucking mind blowing, isn't it? I remember being
Wow.
told that, and I was like, "Are you fucking dull? Are you well? Like, that's just crazy." And that same holiday, I remember feeling really overwhelmed because they were both drunk, and I was the eldest, and there was 4 younger kids. I know one of them was the same age as me, and they were both drunk, and I don't know what happened. I can't remember exactly what happened because it was just a blur. And I remember being he didn't square up to me. He was just angry at me or something. And I don't even know. I think I called him a cunt. I don't know. Or he called me a cunt. And I left. I walked out. I was crying in this holiday park. And then they went back and they left me there. I think I was like 15 or something. I remember taken back, and I remember being stood outside, and I was fearing for my life because she rolled up her sleeves and she just stared at me, and I was on one side of this like holiday park, and she just started chasing me, and it was terrifying. I remember running into the room, locking myself in the bedroom and screaming. I think we had a complaint or something. Like, this is how I remember it. It might have not happened like that, but that's how I remember it. And then the next day, woke up. You right, Gethin? Like, nothing. I was just gaslit all the time. These things would happen, and then it'd be fine the next day, and I'd be like, "Oh, it's okay then. It's forgotten about now. It doesn't necessarily matter." And it was just things like that, and I was like, it's fucking mental."
Yeah, that's not the way. That's not the way
No.
things work, because you're just sending mixed messages continuously to someone. And I think identity, when we look at a person's identity, it can be incredibly powerful, but also incredibly difficult for someone when the world doesn't always understand who that person is. And unfortunately, that sounds exactly what the situation is. That the world around you, the ones who you loved, were the ones who you thought loved and cherished you, didn't understand you and didn't accept you. But then the mixed warnings, and that must have been so confusing for you. That, are you angry? Do you accept me? Am I allowed to do these things? Am I not allowed to do these things?
Yeah.
That's going to be tiring in itself, Geth.
Yeah. Like, sorry, I'm just going back to it again because it's all coming in because I'm getting comfortable now. And I remember being at home, and I was always told, "I can't wait until you're 16 so I can kick you out. I can't wait until you're 18 so I can punch you in the face." Those kinds of things. And I'm like, "Oh, give it a fucking rest." Just like, do you know what I mean? It was those things, and I was like, "Christ, I'm scared." But also, I can't wait to leave.
Do you find that with those things being said to you, have you become a bit immune to it now?
I think it got to a point where I was immune to it, and I was like, well, no, actually, I got used to it because I was so comfortable with it, and it didn't feel wrong. It felt normal. And obviously it wasn't until I was out of that situation that I started to realize how bad it was.
Oh, but I really do feel for you, because there's nothing worse than there's physical abuse, and then there's mental abuse. Both are bad. Both are really, really bad. The problem is with mental abuse is that mental abuse stays with you for a long time. Physical abuse is horrendous. And I know things that have been said to me, they stick with me a lot more. And I'm 36 years of age, and I still struggle with one or two things that people would say to me.
Yeah.
I try to make a laugh and a joke about it now. But it still has a massive effect on me mentally and my body self-image. So for me, weight was a big thing for me, because I was a very chubby child when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And then I played sport then to be really, really fit. I got really, 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 really fit. And then someone in the family would consciously say that you're putting weight on and stuff, or would touch my love angles and say, "Oh, you're putting weight on now." And to this day, I have a massive image crisis in the mirror where I look in the mirror and go, I need to lose weight, I need to be fit, I need to be fit. But whereas it took up most of my life before, now I'm at a stage where I'm a bit like, okay, yeah, still there, but through the stuff that I'm doing with the Forge and grounding and journaling and mindfulness, I'm able to have a bit more control of the situation. But emotional words and how you can make someone feel is really damaging to someone's self-awareness.
Yeah, and I agree with the whole body image thing, because I've struggled with that as well because of similar things. But where I am now in my life, it's my home, it's my vessel, it's where I live, it looks after me, it keeps me warm every night, it keeps the blood pumping around my body, and it loves other people, and that's what's important to me. I might not be, buff and skinny like the other boys that I know, but the reality is you're more than what your body is. And even though I'm in the wrong body, I love and accept it for what it is currently, because it won't always be like that. And I've accepted that, and it's taken a lot to get to that point, and I still struggle with it now. Obviously, I'll be very close to getting top surgery, and that'll be a massive thing for me. But I'm so comfortable in knowing that I'm a boy, that the fact that I have got a pair of tits doesn't even comprehend in my brain. Do
I
you know
love
what I
that.
mean? Like,
Yeah, I love that.
I'm so confident in who I am as a person that this is just skin. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't make me any less of a man. Like, best believe if it's hot in the summer, I'm taking my top off in the house, because now my parents, they love and accept me for who I am. They know that I'm a boy. They don't ever have any qualms or anything like that, because I feel so comfortable. So yeah, I will let the titties hang loose. I don't even care.
I love that. Oh, I think that's fabulous. But I think that's
Yeah.
brilliant that you've come
I
to a
can't believe I
stage
just
of,
said that.
hey, just let the titties hang loose.
Yeah, facts.
I
Facts.
love it. No, but hey, I think that's brilliant when you get to a state of a mental state where you totally accept. And I think that's one of the biggest things people struggle with, is the acceptance and accountability. And if you can learn to accept your situation or what you want to be, then yes, there will be times following on from that will be difficult, stabilizing. But you will get to a stage where you're at now, when you'll continue to be, where you feel massively empowered and you're able to approach life differently from other people who don't accept who they are or the situation that they're in. And they won't get to that point where they're empowered and they're constantly relapsing back into their methodology, because they're too worried about what people think of them. Social media is massive in regards to that. We put pictures up there because we're longing for someone to say, yeah, you look good, you look good, you look good. But if you truly believe inside that, no, actually, I do look good, actually, I am doing the right thing, there is no one who can stop them, because you don't bow down basically to any other critic apart from yourself. And if you are comfortable with yourself, then we're rocking. You mentioned, I know within all this period as well, because we're dipping into like bad parts and then good parts as well, but you mentioned reaching some really dark places with your mental health. So what happened during that time in your life?
So this has been a couple of occasions where it's been pretty dark. So I'll just explain them all individually, because it's a bit
Yeah.
easier.
No, you fire ahead.
So I think, I can't remember the order of them again, because it's all just mixed into one.
That's fine.
But the first occasion that I remember it was like an impulse thing, and I was like, I don't want to be at home, so there's something I need to do to change that. And I was out with my friends, and God bless them, we're not particularly close anymore, but I'm not surprised. I put them through a bit of hell, but I essentially, I put on a fake seizure, if that makes sense. And I look back and I'm like, why did you do that? Why did you feel the need to do that? But I must have felt the need to do that because I didn't know what else to do. And I remember this happening, and I was like, you need to call the hospital. And I got taken to the hospital, and well, first of all, we went to the Gwent, and they were like, you can't come here, we're closing down. So I had to go to the Grange. And I was put in this room on my own, and I was like, I can't go home. I can't go home. And then they still called my biological mother and she came and picked me up. And I was like, I'm not going home. And I kept telling that to her. And she was like, you need to pack it in. You're coming home. And I went home. And I think I look back on that and I'm like, one, not why did I do that? Because I understand why I did that. But I also, I look back and I feel bad about that because there are people who do have seizures. There are people who really struggle with that. And I obviously I had empathy and sympathy towards the people that do suffer with those issues, but it got to the point where I felt like I had to do something that big in order to get that kind of realization from somebody, not necessarily a reaction, because then I felt guilty afterwards. And then after that time, it was bonfire night, or this might have come after, I'm not too sure. It was bonfire night. I went out drinking, wasn't allowed to drink because I got it in my head that because my biological father was an addict, then I would be as well, through things that I'd been told as well. But I drank anyway, and I got very emotional, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to kill myself. So I walked off by, I'm not too sure where it was, I can't remember. I can't remember where it was, and thank God my friends were there, because I would have jumped off this thing. But then that happened, and I went home, and I remember being told off for drinking, and I said that I felt really unsafe. And I remember getting my phone taken off of me and being grounded. But grounded didn't mean like, oh, you're not allowed to go out. Grounded was, for me, I wasn't allowed to leave my room unless I was eating or drinking or going to the toilet. Nothing. I wasn't allowed anything other than a book. It was really like, it was like being locked up. It wasn't enjoyable. Like I would just, it was awful. But I went to work that day and I said to my biological mother, I said, I'm really struggling. And she said that it's always a mental health excuse. So that night, so this was like in the period of like a day after the other. I got my wages and I walked up to the corner shop and I bought, I think, 4 boxes of paracetamol and an energy drink really randomly, don't know why. And I overdosed on, I don't know how much I took, but I took all 4 packets. I'm not sure how much is in all of them. It doesn't necessarily matter. But I took them and I was like, I'm going to end my life. And I had taken them. I don't know what happened. I think I waited for like an hour and nothing happened. And then I left the house and I walked to a friend's house that was local. I knocked on the door and I was like, I need some help. And then I was taken to the hospital and yeah, I remember being in the hospital really poorly. I think I was in hospital for like 2 or 3 days on like drips and stuff and whatever. And I remember saying to my biological mother, I said, I just want to be a boy. I just want to be a boy. And I thought that that was the only thing that I could have possibly done to, because the reality is I didn't want to necessarily die, I don't think. I just wanted it to stop. And for me, that was the only way that I would have been able to do it. I think I remember saying that, and then nothing changed again. I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel supported after that time. I was then, again, my phone was taken off of me and whatever, and I had like a burner phone, and I couldn't contact any of my friends, and I was watched all the time, went into school and whatever. It was awful. And I remember again, I was wearing my boxers and she mentioned something about it. And I was like, this is not the time or the place to be asking your child why you're wearing a pair of boxers. It's not the time. I remember I swore. I remember getting told off in hospital because I said shit. And I was like, it is not the time and place to be so fucking angry with somebody for saying something like that when they're in the hospital because it just tries to take their life. It's not, it wasn't, it didn't make any sense to me. So I think And then, and that's just where it kind of went. I just felt something needed to happen for something to change. And I truly believe that would be it. I felt like I had to do something so drastic in order to get that help and support that I needed. And it didn't happen.
It's an all too common thing that's happening at the moment, where people are seeking help, not seeking help, attempting to take their own lives, and a large number of them are succeeding. And I think the way that you just articulated that then was, it's a cry for help. And when you're not receiving help from the people closest to you who love you, and for the people around you as well, like when you talked about the seizure, that to me was, I need someone to see me. I need to be seen. I need to be heard. Why can't anyone see me? No one's taking any notice of you, so you go to the extreme. And it's really good to hear that you understand that that was a bad thing to do. In regards to getting help, that was a negative way of trying to get help. But at the time when we are in distress, and I've been there as well, we do stupid things to get attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's really, really sad that you felt that you had no one to talk to understand. When you were in hospital and you were discharged from hospital, was there any follow-up services? Because again, you're someone now who has tried to take their own life. You're a high risk. You're not having that emotional support at home. So what was the professional build up or follow up to that incident?
So I remember that obviously the mental health people come in like the day after these attempts, because I had more attempts after that when I came to my parents, and she came in and spoke to me, and I basically told her, I said, there's something wrong with me and I don't know what to do. I'm a sociopath. I'm this, that, and the other, and I need help. And that was it. I was again telling lies. Obviously, I thought that they were true, and I just didn't know what was true and what was false at that point. I didn't know what my life was. I couldn't, which sounds ridiculous, because of course you know when you're telling the truth and whatever. But I was telling her all these things, and then I think I had a CAMS referral. And obviously this goes into all the different therapies that I'd had. And then I think I went to that, but I can't remember anything happening after that. I don't know. I can't give you a straight answer. I genuinely, like I said, a lot of my childhood is just merged into one, and I can't remember if I had that support. I genuinely don't know if I did.
This is a pure example. This one example here now of a 20-year-old experiencing suicidal tendencies over and over and over, but yet we're not getting the point of trying to help that person to feel seen and heard, or follow-ups and everything. We are looking at the situation where Gethin is very, very lucky that he's still here. And it's really, for me, someone who has experienced trying to take my own life. I've lost people to it as well, and I'm doing a big talk now in the mental health and wellbeing show, and I'm an advocate for it as well. It is something that really, really touches my nerve, because not enough in regard to trying to understand and trying to have these open conversations about it, and realizing where the triggers are, where these things happen and where they can be intervened. It's not good enough. It just isn't good enough. And I think this is a pure example of when you've got someone who is 20 years of age, again, and can't remember if he was supported enough 5 years ago, really shows that enough wasn't done at the time. And that really does piss me off on a massive scale, because I remember when I was 18 years of age, I remember exactly the same scenario when I was suffering, pacing back and forth, suicidal, and the doctor said, "What do you want me to do?" So it's one of those things that really, really does touch a nerve with me. And I'm just grateful, Geth, that you found a way out of that. I'm
Yeah,
not saying that there will be probably situations in the future where you will have dips and everything, but in order to get out of that situation must have been incredibly difficult. Incredibly difficult. And
yeah,
like, again, if I said to you, did you feel supported at the time or misunderstood? I can imagine which one you're going to say.
yeah. No, I didn't, and I remember being in hospital, and I got told if this would happen again, then I'd be sent to a psych ward, and I wanted that because anything other than home was good enough for me. Like, and me saying that now blows my mind that I felt like that at 15, 16 years old. Blows my mind that I felt like that, and I just wish there was more support, you know. I don't know what happened, but I went into school and I got asked by the teachers how I felt, and I was like, I just want to kill myself. I was so open and honest with them at that point. I was like, I just want to kill myself. And I then said I didn't want to go home again. And then I was picked up by my nan. And I remember hearing a phone call that she had had with my biological mother. And I remember her saying, I hate him. Absolutely hate him. Obviously, she didn't say him, but just for the purposes of my own sanity, I'm going to say him. And I just, it all, I was like, what am I going to do? Like, genuinely, what am I going to do? There was just nothing left.
Did you openly talk to anyone about, because I'm assuming you were obviously 15, 16 years of age, so again, you were still to a degree under 18, so you're a minor in some perspectives as well. Did you speak to anyone about the things that were going on at home?
There wasn't. No, I remember, again, this was the same family friend that I still talk to now, and he kind of understood what was going on. He suspected that I was autistic or something, and there were some conversations that I had with him, and there was a time where I had to go to his house because something was happening at home, just something random. I had a conversation with him, and I remember then he stopped being friends with my biological mother because he told her. He was like, you need to stop, kind of thing. Obviously, I don't know what happened in specifics. I don't want to say anything that's not true because I'm not completely sure what was going on. I remember when that happened, I was distraught. I was so upset. I was like, this one thing that I thought I had, this one person that I thought I could go to, completely gone. Yeah, it was really difficult.
I can tell, buddy. I can tell. And I think sometimes the systems that are supposed to keep people safe can ultimately leave them feeling even more lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I get it. And when we're in those situations and we're not getting that support and we're crying out for help and we don't feel supported, it leaves us feeling incredibly vulnerable. And that's, again, that's when, unfortunately, people will go to drastic measures in order to feel supported and feel seen and to end the way that they're feeling. And I think that's the growing trend at the moment that is happening within the UK, with suicide rates being the highest they've ever been in the UK. It's the biggest killer of young men in all of the UK and the world. And not only that, there's a massive increase at the moment with girls at the age of 18 to 20 as well. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of these things at the moment, which is trying to understand what's happening. But I do believe in your circumstances, when you're not feeling seen, not feeling heard, and not feeling understood, then it's led you to feeling that, well, what's the point? Why do I need to be here anymore? And then to get help, but then not to have a follow-up, I think is just... I'm not saying you didn't have a follow-up, but not a follow-up to someone sitting down with you and going, well, what's happening? Talk to me. Tell me what's happening at home. I'm really going through it. And like what we're doing now. Just me and you, just literally me and you having a conversation, sitting down, and then all of a sudden then you feel comfortable, you talk about it, and then you feel as if you can confide in someone. But this is why not just this podcast, this is why these conversations are needed on a real scale, not to pussyfoot round things, not to turn
Absolutely.
around and go, oh, what can we do for you today now, love? Not actually having an honest conversation about how it's affecting me, how it's affecting you. That's how we start to understand the topic more. And that's why, again, that's why the Forge podcast is here, is to open them conversations like this. So if there is anyone out now listening to this and they're in the same situation, they'll understand the importance of speaking about it, about creating them spaces, and understanding if systems let you down, then you can still overcome them as long as you find the right avenues. But yeah, when systems are supposed to help you and then they let you down, that's an all too known fact. And I know the NHS is in bits at the moment and stuff, but I know there are some incredible people out there advocating at the moment. But again, it's a massive mission in what to do to try and prevent things like what you have been through, or if you do go through them, how quick you can recover and move forward. With your biological parents, just to give a general idea, because I know with your dad and everything and your mum, I guess did you have love and affection for your mother, or did it turn into that kind of resentment? What was it like with your father, your biological father as well?
So it was just like we just lived together. That's what it felt like. So my biological father, he was in and out of my life, from when I was born up until he passed away. And he left, this is what I've been told, to give me my best chance, in whatnot. I knew that he had struggled with addiction and being in and out of prison for like shoplifting and trying to survive and whatever. He had a tough upbringing. I always kind of longed to have that father figure, and he was really nice. He was really kind. He was very much like me in the way that he is. He was very sporty. He used to send me cards, and he used to support me when I used to do my karate and things like that. And I always wanted a relationship with him, but I was kind of told that you don't need him, you've got me. You don't need a father figure, you've got me. And that's not to say that I didn't necessarily want a biological mother. I just wanted both. And that's perfectly normal. That's what, like, every child wants to feel supported and whatever. And I think the last time I saw him was when I was 9, I think it was. And then I'd spoken to him when I was like 13. I genuinely don't know. I couldn't tell you. And then, unfortunately, he ordered something online, thinking it was something else, and he took it. And he then became brain dead, and which is awful. And I remember being told that it wasn't actually that long ago. I think his anniversary was the 10th of March, just gone now, of like 5 years, I think it was. So I lost him all at the same time that all of this was happening. And I remember getting told exactly how he died, and I can understand why I was told that, but also I don't think any child needs to know that the exact details of how things happened at that age if you're not ready for that. And I was heartbroken, not necessarily because obviously I was sad that he passed, but I was mourning the fact of what I could have had, and I found that really difficult. And I was put into therapy straight away for grief, and I wasn't ready for it, I don't think. I was talking to this lady about it pretty much like a month after I had lost him, and I was talking about things that weren't related to him. I remember getting, like, not told off, but, like, I just remember being like, "You've been given this grief therapy, why aren't you using it for what it's for?" If somebody's not ready to talk about that, especially a month after, then, well, what do you expect? And then I was told the autopsy report in detail, and I was like, it was like losing him all over again. Like, you don't need to know that. I didn't need to know that, but I respect it, but I also am like, I don't think I needed to know that at that age, or whatever. But then again, with my biological mother, I just felt like we were living together. Going back to that, I didn't. Obviously, I would have loved her at some point, and there would have been love there because there were moments of, I don't know. I don't even know if there was. I can't think of happy moments because I'm so like, so many negative things happened. I can't. It's kind of overshadowed all of the positive stuff, and I'm sure there was. Like, again, we went great places. We did lots of things as a family, but it just and it hurts me that I can't remember anything that was positive, especially even with school and things like that. It was always, you need to have a backup plan just in case musical theatre fails. You need to have a backup plan. You can't go into this industry. And it shocks me that I can't think of anything.
It's sad.
I've never had to think about that before, but yeah, I can't. Obviously, I had a biological sister as well, and that was really difficult. Because she was there through it all, so she witnessed everything happening. And sometimes I still talk to her now, but I've realised that obviously she's still living with my biological mother, and the stuff that I have gone through, I think it's reflective of how she is, and she's about 16 now, and I can't allow myself to have that because it's not doing me any favours. I'm not gaining anything, I'm not losing anything. There's no kind of point in that. And I remember she used to call me Gethin when she was around me, but as soon as we were around biological mother, it was different. And I do love my little sister, and I will say that. Oh, that's emotional, that is. I do love her, and I hope that she is living her best life and she follows her dreams and does everything that she wants to do. And I think it's unfortunate that I don't have that relationship with her. Like, we weren't necessarily close. I did used to bully her, but what older brother does? Like, do you know what I mean? It wasn't but we were constantly compared to each other. I think, like, why can't you just be like this and whatever? And those kind of things were like just the way that we had things differently growing up, and that was so evident to me. But yeah, it does make me emotional. That's one of the things that I'm really stuck with, because I don't feel the need to have contact with her. But part of me is like, if anything did happen to her, I'd know how to deal with it, because I'm the only other person that went through it. Because people on the outside didn't know what was going on. They thought that she was the best mum ever. Again, she took us out all the time. But then again, when people saw me, they were like, well, what's wrong with him? He doesn't do anything. He's a lovely boy. And then Alison would be like, well, he's not like that behind closed doors. And she'd be like, wait until they see your true colours, kind of thing. And I'm like, it just baffles me.
Well, it's the mask, innit?
Yeah.
I mean, we it's the masks, and you're all too familiar with it with drama as well. It's the masks that we wear, and sometimes people don't see what's actually going on. That's why with social media, you post a picture of your food and happy families, and you're going, oh my God, look at that family, they're happy. But maybe in that picture, the man's having an affair, the wife is seeing depressed, taking antidepressants, the boy is, do you know what I mean? I'm not just saying, that's just going off the top of my head in regards of what sometimes you might see on a picture. I use it in my talks. There's a picture right at the beginning of my talks where I have me and all of us have got my tortoise in the picture. I've got my two dogs, all the family, we're all smiling. And I say, what do you see? And people normally look at it and go, well, it looks like you're all happy, when really in that picture there's a lot of negativity, there's fear, anxiety and everything. And I think the way to look at this, that scenario with your sister and your mother, is that there was one word I picked up on, and that was if. What if I was like this? What if I was in that situation? And when we have those questions of what ifs, we tend to be living in the past, and nothing changes. We only look at what's in front of us now in the current dilemma, the current situation we're in. And if you keep focusing, not you directly, but if people focus too much on the past, then it massively affects them going forward into the future. That's why and if you keep looking into the future and you start panicking over that, then it's going to affect you where you are now. So that's why where you are now in the current situation you're in, and we'll get into that now, about how things improved for you. That's where true growth starts. That's definitely where true growth starts.
Yeah.
But just going through the list, and there's one more area that, again, I want to make sure that we covered as well before we go into that kind of part where things are on the up and there's lots of things, and that was the accusations that become of you. Yes, so yeah, I know. So you mentioned there was a time when you were accused of sexual assault, and then began to question yourself. So what impact did that have on your identity and self-worth?
So I'm not going to mention any names or anything like that, just to keep it.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
But there was a situation, and I really liked this girl at this one point, and we were just playing. We were just having fun. We would have been like, what, 15? Again, 15, 16. It's always at the same age. This is where my life just went tits up. And again, nothing was harmless, but I was like, oh, I'm going to kiss you. I'm going to kiss you. And I was on top of her. We were just playing. We were just laughing and whatever. And then her sister starts to film. And then she's like going, no, don't kiss me. And she was shouting and whatever, but she was laughing at the same time. And it was very mixed. I was like, okay, I'll stop. But that's literally as far as it went. No, nobody was touched. Nothing happened. It was literally just two kids pissing about. Like, it wasn't anything thingy. And then I remember, I don't know what happened, and she called me at some point, or I don't know how it got to this point, and she was like, you make me feel disgusting. I couldn't live with myself after what you did to me. I've got it on video, and she showed it to some people in school, and it just shows the part of her screaming. And she said that she had to like wash her body because she felt so disgusting, and I was devastated. And because because I was dealing with like what's true and what's not true, I convinced myself that I'd raped her or something. And she was like, if you don't go and tell the police, then I will. You need to go into school and tell them what you have done. And I just broke down. I was like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God. And I was also battling the thing of, my God, if my biological mother finds out about this is going to go fucking, oh my God, like, this is going to blow up. And so I went into school. I was distraught. I was walking around school, and the teachers were trying to find me, and I was just doing my usual like rounds of the day because I couldn't concentrate in lessons or whatever. I just broke down on the stairs, and I was like, I have done this. This has happened. And then and I remember her being like, why did you tell somebody? Why did you do that? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I've just gone and told these people that I have sexually assaulted you. It was fucking mental. And then why I was still friends with this person, we were then at the park a different time, and she got on top of me and she started kissing me. And I tried to get up. I tried to move. I didn't feel comfortable, and I had to physically push her off me. And I'm like, you've accused me of sexual assault, which isn't necessarily, it's very small on the scale if it was taken that seriously. Do you know what I mean? Not that I mean, like, regardless of what sexual assault it is, it's valid in its own way. But I was like, you've accused me of this, and then you've done the same thing to me, and I've tried to get you off of me, and you wouldn't move. And I felt distraught. I genuinely thought I was a rapist for so long because I was like, I must not remember what was going on. I must not have remembered what happened. And that was a massive thing. And then when I was younger, this situation happened. Again, I'm not going to mention any names because of confidentiality and things like that. But I remember being younger and I was at a friend's house. I think I was about 7 or 8. And these two boys, they wanted to play this game, and they wanted to like touch me and make me touch them and like touch their penis and things like that. And they wanted me to put it in my mouth and shit like that. And I told somebody about it, and I was told not to tell anyone. I don't know how old these boys were. I think one of them was like 13 and one of them was whatever. And I remember telling somebody, and I was like, and they were like, you can't tell anyone. You have to keep it a secret. And now I've got a massive fear of ever being in a sexual relationship with anybody. And it's one of those things that, like, it's not a massive thing that's happened in my life, but it's one of those things that I think about regularly. Because I'm like, for so long I thought I was a rapist, and then stuff like that happened to me when I was younger. It's just fucking, it's mad. But yeah, I told the school about that situation, and it didn't go any further than that.
Wow.
So I was made to feel so like shitty. I told somebody about it because that's the right thing to do. Because I genuinely believe I did something, it would be the right thing to do to tell somebody. So I did.
And you
And I
told
wanted to make,
it was an adult you told as well.
yeah, an adult I told, and like teacher and whatever, and they said, we're going to go and talk to the other person. So they did. And then it didn't go any further than that. And then she was like, one day this will come back and bite you in the ass. And still to this day, I'm like, oh my God, what if something comes up about this? And because it was so long ago, I can't remember. Like, I had never seen this video, but I am pretty sure that nothing happened. But when everything comes into one and I'm living in this fucking vicious circle of life, oh, God knows. But yeah, so that's fun.
Yeah, that's a really fucked up thing to go through when, again, you've been accused of something, but then when you're that age, I'm just gonna go off for like how I would feel when you're that age and you're experiencing hormones and sexual discovery and stuff, and then people try to take advantage of that for their own personal gains. It makes you feel massively uncomfortable. And then you
Yeah.
tell an adult, and then the adult says, don't say nothing. That's pretty fucked up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a form.
Well, they were two separate occasions. So like the first one was when I was like 15, and then the one where I told an adult they told me not to tell anything, that was when I was younger. So they were two different situations. I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that.
Yeah. You're totally, even the first situation, right? That's still messed up because you were a minor. So that would be classed as a form of sexual abuse. And it's just to not be sit down and spoken to about it, to understand it, but then for people to dismiss it, it just doesn't sit well with me at all. I mean, it's really is upsetting because all your life, it sounds as if you've struggled with how to navigate your emotions, how to talk about them, understanding yourself, and you've had absolutely no guidance at all. But then when you have tried to do something to correct things, you are not being reinforced in that way anyway, which then has a massive impact on your self-worth, mental health, how you act, your behavior. So if you would come in and spoke to me again, if I was one of the people who spoke to, I would have gone, wow, okay, we've got a young adult who isn't being supported, who's had instances when he was younger of being possibly sexually abused, even though it didn't go anywhere. There's just so many aspects, and I would have gone, right, okay, I can understand now why these behaviours are happening. Let's do something about it. But if no one's done that, do you know what I mean? And I'm not even a fully qualified professional. I just think it's fucking obscene.
Yeah,
It's crazy. And it's got to make you feel incredibly let down then by anyone. And it's really sad to hear that from your own perspective that it's going to affect relationships to come.
absolutely, yeah.
Which is just really sad, because again, it can all be prevented just by having an open conversation, talking about it and sitting down, but feeling comfortable enough to do it with someone you know who's going to give you the right advice and right guidance, because you can't expect children to get it straight away. That's your point of being a parent and being adults. We're here to educate and help younger people become best versions themselves.
Absolutely.
There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. That's exactly what it is. If you have mistakes as a parent, then you educate your children then to be different. And I would do that, even if I was a professional who they weren't my children. I would do that anyway, because that's my duty as a person to highlight, to educate, to help them see the world differently. Sure, but it just upsets me knowing that you've been through that and let down over and over and over again. So you spoke about believing that you were a narcissist and a sociopath because those things were said to you growing up. But how does that affect someone, or how did that affect you psychologically?
So because I was told that when I was younger, I carried that for probably up until about 2 or 3 years ago, I would say. I carried that with me. I then started doing research about it, and I was like, oh my God, this fits me exactly perfectly. This is who I am. And it felt normal knowing that. And obviously, it's not true, but back then it felt normal. I was like, okay, well, this is who I am. But it felt like relief when I was younger, because there was something. It was like not a diagnosis, but it was, how do I explain it? It was like a reason. The reason why I'm like this is because of this. I had an answer. So there was some relief in that, because for so long I was like, something's wrong with me. This is what it is. Even though it's not a good thing. But I was like, okay, I've finally got an answer. And obviously it wasn't until I actually left that became to kind of unfold, and it wasn't the case.
Well, that's good though, that you've come to that realization that you don't believe that. Do you believe that you're a narcissist and a sociopath now?
Absolutely not.
Amazing.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, because I really don't. But you're not.
No.
But again, I think that's when we start going into the healing process now of the latter end of the podcast as well. And I think that's really good to see where you've come from, and you've lived in that environment for a long period of time, and you've had those feelings. But when we could talk about the healing, I know from obviously you do a lot of drama with Lloyd. Musical theatre is a big thing. So when did musical theatre enter your life?
So I've done musical theatre since year 6. I did some amdrams outside of school as well. I remember my first proper production being Aladdin as my final year 6 kind of thing, and it just became my own thing. It's so special to me on so many different levels. And when I was younger, it could mean that I could leave Gethin and all of my home issues and everything that was going on, and I could be myself on stage and I can let loose. And as soon as you step on that stage and you do something that you love, it's the only time that I felt happy. It was the best thing I could have ever done. It genuinely means the world to me.
Do you feel that it's the first place where you truly belonged?
Oh, 100%. It surrounded by people who love doing the same thing as you. You get to dance around on stage like a prat and feel happy about it. Like it and like dressing up and just being somebody else for a couple of hours and just being able to express yourself and use your own personal experiences to give truthful performances. I think that's why I'm such a good actor, because I've got so much shit going on in my life that I can just put it all into my fucking characters and shit.
You got a lot of experience. I think
Yeah.
the way to follow that into like trying to think of a question to summarize that is that why do you then think that creative spaces can be so healing for people, or using your experience?
Creative spaces are just one of the best things, I think, for people. That as well as sports, because I love sports. Well, I used to, but since transitioning now, it's very difficult to play sports because I can't quite play in either category. But creative spaces allow people to let loose and do something that doesn't take up brain space. It doesn't, like, even something as simple as like coloring, like something that doesn't require any real like concentration or anything like that. You can just let loose. You can do what you want to do. You can have fun and just, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so good. It's so good to hear that, though, in regards of what you have experienced and how drama makes you feel as a person in order to become better versions of yourself as well. I think that's incredible as well. And I know that I would look at that as some sort of, or I wonder if you agree, that creative, when you're in that creative industry, it's a sense of therapy. And I know that you've experienced CBT therapy, art therapy, family therapy, but would you say that the creative spaces are the thing that's helped the most?
100%. Being in a space, again, where you can just let go. You leave everything at the door. Like when I'm doing what I love to do, it just goes. Especially when I was younger, and obviously musical theatre brought me closer to my family, which is what I hold so dear. I've got a little story as well. It's my favourite story to tell. But so during this time when I was at my biological mother's house, I got asked by a teacher if I'd go to this Amdram society, which is Christchurch Music Society. All the people out there listening, I love you. But I got asked to come and do this show. And I was like, oh, I don't know. It's probably a bunch of old people, CBA for that. But I went anyway, and I met these amazing people who accepted me for me. And it was the first space that I could go into and only be known as a boy, only be known as who I am and the things that I love to do. And so I did this show, and in the show, I was the son of one of the main characters, and we got a close relationship. And she said to me, if you ever need anything, let me know. And I opened up to her a couple of times. And at this point, it got to the point, obviously, where I tried to take my life. I was at home. I think I woke up the one day and I was like, this is it. This is my way out. So I called Childline and I said, I want to do this. Legally, am I allowed to leave home? Because I was a school leaver. I was in sixth form. It was literally a couple of weeks after sixth form was started. So legally, you can leave home at 16, as long as you have somewhere to go that can provide you with, I don't know, just being safe. If you're in a safe space, and you can leave. So I called them up and they were like, legally, you can leave. If you've got somewhere to go, you can go. So I call up this lady and I'm like, can you come and help me? I am stuck. I've got nowhere to go. And it was either that I called this person or I was going to kill myself. And I think I would have killed myself. But I called up this lady and I said, I need to go. And she was like, I'm going to be there in 10 minutes, pack your stuff and leave. And I didn't go back. And now she's my mum. And I just love telling it. This is my favourite story ever. And now I have my dad, and it's just something so special as musical theatre can really... Oh, I'm getting emotional. Something as special as musical theatre can bring you so close. And just, I don't even know how to explain it. It just baffles me that I've been gifted with a second chance in life and a chance to experience what it's like to have parents that care and love for you, regardless of who you are. People that welcomed me in with open arms. They didn't kind of... There was no like worry there. They just wanted to help me. And then we did the show, and then they asked me to stay. And I was like, oh my God, this is my family. I have a family now. I'm going to have to like start fucking working on myself if I'm going to be here forever. And now I have like hundreds of people, literally, my family's fucking massive, that care for me. Like my auntie, my nan, my Bampy, all of these people that care and love me for who I am is something more special than I could have ever imagined. And the fact that I got to have that second chance, which doesn't happen. People don't get second chances like that. You don't get a new set of parents ever. It just doesn't happen. And the fact that I've got that, I appreciate it so much. And sometimes I forget what I've got. And don't get me wrong, it was difficult. I pushed those boundaries because I didn't know what it was like to have parents like that. And I was running away all the time, pushing those boundaries. But it wasn't until I realized that I don't need to do that. If I leave, they're going to come and get me. They're not just going to let me leave because they care. They want me here. And I think it was very difficult. I went through that period of time again where I was like, I need to act up because that is what I'm used to. And that was what I was used to. I was used to being this certain way, lying all the time, and I didn't have to anymore. I didn't have to put on this facade. I didn't have to, like, I was harming myself when I was still moved in with them, and I was self-harming, and I was running away, and I was overdosing and things like that. And I think it hit me. It got to the point where they cared so much that I didn't have to do anything to prove to them. Like, I just didn't want them to go anywhere. And I think I tried to push those boundaries to see if they would go, and they didn't. They came back every single time. And I have no doubt that they will be there with me for the rest of my life. I don't think I would be going to drama school next year. I wouldn't be living authentically as myself. I'm now 7 months on testosterone. I've changed my name legally. I'm now a Hayward. I'm not there's no doubt in, I can't put into words how thankful I am of how much my parents have done for me and just my family in general. Like, they've supported me through everything that I could have imagined. Like, it's been so difficult to get to this point. But and it was also things realizing that I'm not a narcissist, I'm not a sociopath. I'm just a kid, and that's okay. It's okay to be different. It's okay to not fit into the stereotypes, and it's okay to be weird and wonderful, and it's actually okay to be neurodivergent. And I'm currently waiting for that diagnosis. And if it wasn't for my parents, I wouldn't have known that. If it wasn't for this amazing guy that I had at CAMS for therapy for 2 years, I wouldn't be where I am now. Like, the therapy that I had with that guy, oh, I could kiss him. He's fantastic. Like, we rewrote my whole story. We did narrative therapy, and I took back what was taken away from me, and I rewrote how I felt. And the reality is that I wasn't a burden. I'm not a bloody narcissist or whatever. I just wanted love. And ultimately, I think that that's what kids want. They just want love and appreciation of who they are. And just fucking love my life. It's great. I'm honestly, and I was so worried about having a baby brother because of the experience I had before, but I love him so much more than words can explain. Like having a little brother and being able to have my childhood again and not have to apologize for it is beyond words. Like, it's just mental to me that I get to just be myself.
It's amazing to see the growth and the realization that when people don't have anyone and then they finally find that person or that group or that tribe of people that can look out for them, how much it can actually allow someone to grow. And yeah, it made me quite emotional then, because I just by hearing your story about being constantly let down, constantly made out to feel that you, not only on the outside but on the inside, you're not good enough and you're not who you think you are. It really is an incredible story to hear you on the growth of how far you've actually come and the amazing things you're going to do going forward. And your new family, they sound absolutely incredible, to give you that second chance at life, when things could have turned out much differently. But luckily they haven't. And yeah, it's been an incredible listen to how you've turned your life around. It really has.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, it hasn't been easy having a new family. It is taking a massive toll on everybody's lives. It is having any child, like going from not having any children. So they were freshly married. They'd just been married. And they went from not having a child to having a 16-year-old boy in the house. And I think it was especially difficult for my dad because, well, it just is. I think my my family have been foster carers for a lot of their lives. So my Bampy does foster caring. So my mum's had like children come in and out of her home and things like that. But I think for my dad, it was especially difficult because obviously when you have a baby, you have you have 9 months to prepare and you plan to have a baby. But I just rocked up, all guns blazing, a lot of trauma on my head, and it just went from like 0 to 100 within a couple of days. And like I said, it was about finding out what it's like to have parents. How do you treat your mum and dad? And I struggle with that now. Sometimes I catch myself, and the way that I talk to people, I'm like, that's not right. But my mum will call me out on it. She'll be like, you need to pipe down. You need to know where your place is. You need to calm down. But there's never been a moment where I've doubted my love for my parents and the love that they have for me. Like, I think it's just crazy how much that has turned around in my life, that I went from not having anything to having more than anything, like more than anything anyone could ever ask for. Like, this is a safe haven for also my friends. My friends love coming to my house because my parents are so supportive, and like this is where people like to hang out. They like to come here because it's where their bread's buttered. It's great. They're just, I don't know. I can't explain. They're just my parents. I just fucking love them. They just supported me through like absolutely everything, and it has been hard. Like, there's been times where it's been like I've ran away, and my mum's like, "Fucking hell, I can't cope with this boy," because it's a lot. It is a lot. It's a lot to take on, and again with the whole, it wasn't until I'd then gone through therapy and whatever that I realized obviously I wasn't a narcissist, and that actually I'm probably neurodivergent, and it's so prominent in when I was younger. Because if we go back and we look at those moments where that moment when I was in the dentist, when I'd leave classes and stuff, it's because you can't maintain those things when you have ADHD. I couldn't keep my concentration. So yeah, I was talking all the time because nothing was interesting me. I had those meltdowns because I couldn't kind of, what do you call it? I couldn't control my emotions. That's another thing about being neurodivergent. It was so difficult. And all of those things, now that I recognize, were so prominent in my childhood that if somebody noticed them, it probably would have been very different. But now that I'm older and I'm more understanding of what those things are, it's it is what it is. And I'm okay with that.
It's amazing, buddy. It really, really is. And I think what we do is, like, now that you could tell now how you started and then where you are now and how, like, joyous you are, and I remember the question at the beginning. We said that my life is quite normal. There's nothing really to talk about. Well, it is. I think people are listening to this and go, well, yes, he's had a really, and he's only 20 years of age. But what I like to do now, as we, like, the last segment of the show, what I like to do now is where we look at, like, reflection. So we look at where your growth is and then your reflection looking back. 'Cause I think that's one of the biggest things we can do, is when we look at circumstances and we take where we are now and review what we've been through and what you've learned. And it's just a lovely way to try and close the show. So I'm going to ask you a few questions and just answer them as honestly as you can. Is that okay?
Yeah, cool.
Cool. So question one. So if you were looking back now, what do you understand about yourself that you didn't before?
I look back at my younger self and I understand what I really seeked for. I just wanted love, understanding and appreciation and support. And now that I have that understanding, I can live my life to the fullest. And it's a shame that I didn't have that, but I'm glad that I have that now, because some people never find that out. They never find out what they were truly seeking when they were younger, and they never find that peace and those answers that they look for. And sometimes there isn't an answer, and that's okay too. It's okay to not have an answer. It's okay to not know everything or know exactly how your brain works. I think that's probably what I would. That's one thing I've learned about myself.
That's a really good answer. Good realization answer. Question two, do you think pushing boundaries when you were younger was about survival?
Oh. I think it got to a point where there was nothing else I could do, so I had to push those boundaries to see if I could get that reaction, to see if I could get that help, because I didn't know how to get it otherwise. Obviously, it didn't end up working because I didn't get that help that I needed when I was younger. But pushing those boundaries, I don't really know how to answer that question. I did need to survive, and I suppose that was my only way of survival, because I don't think I would have survived if I hadn't have done all of those things in between. But I also think that I wouldn't have survived if I didn't have things like musical theatre and having that creative space. If I didn't have that one thing that was mine that nobody could take away from me, if I didn't have that, I don't know. I would have just been, I don't know, I'd probably be dead, which is an awful thing to say, but it's true. Like, which is why I want to do it for the rest of my life. I want to dance like a prat on stage.
Well, it's giving you something, isn't it? It's giving you something where you feel it's it's purpose. Exactly. And I think when you look at the whole situation, what have you learned about belonging?
When you find where you belong, because everybody belongs somewhere, everybody has their niche, everybody has their thing that they love the most. And when you find that, you open up to everything. As soon as you find that thing that makes you feel whole and makes you feel so positive, you'll go on to leaps and bounds, because you'll find what you love. And when you find what you love, you just excel in life. It doesn't matter what happens then, because you've got that one thing that makes you. If I didn't have that, I don't know. I wouldn't be my quirky self. I wouldn't be so fucking fabulous. Do you know what I mean? I just wouldn't. I don't know what I would do. Like, I think about this all the time. I'm like, what would I do if I didn't have musical theatre? Like, I can't see myself doing anything else. Like, it actually kills me off. Like, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have it.
Well,
Yeah.
It really does. Once you find that thing that makes you tick
Yeah.
and you feel the sense of belonging. Like, I've made more friends the last year through talking about my mental health than I did for 35 years previously, which
I
is
think that's what it is. You just need to talk. Talking is the best thing that you can do. Like,
100%.
no matter what it's about, I talk to my parents all the time. As soon as something comes up that I don't feel sure about, I talk to them. If you have that person in your life that you can go to, spill it out, because they will never ever think that you're a burden. They'll never think that you're a waste of space. You just need to talk about how you feel, even if it's positive. You talk about the positive things and it just feels good. And even if you talk about things that are really difficult and stuff that is frowned upon, you talk about them and you do feel better. And over time, like now, I'm at a point in my life where I'm okay. I'm okay. Like, I don't feel like I have to kill myself all the time. And that is something that I never thought I'd say. Like, there's no, like, I don't feel like I need to run away. I don't feel like I need to just disappear, because I found where my place is at. And when you find that, and even if you don't have that now, there will come a point where you find that person or people, and there's always somebody out there who will welcome you. There always is. Even if it's an old nana at the bus stop, there's always somebody to talk to.
I say this every week, right? That people go, well, I am known to speak to, and I'm like, well, there's 8 point, however many billion people on this earth now. There is someone out there that you can talk to. There always is. There always will be. And I've always said, if you're struggling with mental health and you need someone to talk to, just drop me a message and I'll be on the end of the phone.
Yeah,
I've always said that, and I think that leads into when people are listening to you now, you have become an advocate for people who not only have trauma, but also from the trans community as well, and the LGBTQ community
yeah.
as well. And I think that kind of puts you on a pedestal of, look, what you've done and what you've achieved and what's possible. And I think what I want you to, there's two final questions. One is to the audience and one is to you. So the question is, if someone was listening to is listening to this now and they have started their trans journey, or they don't feel like they belong anywhere, what would you want them to know?
It sounds very cliche, but you're not alone. I know everyone says that, and then also everybody says what I'm just saying now. But you're just not alone. There are so many things out there that are difficult, and there are so many bad things that are happening in the world, and so many things that people have been through. But it will come to a point where something will click, something will change, and it's difficult, it's hard, and mental health is one of the hardest things that I've ever had to deal with. But there will come a point where something will change. It could be like you could be at the worst point in your life below that, and I know what that feels like. But something, regardless of what it is, something even small will change. You might find a new person. You might find a new thing that you enjoy, something that will fill your time and something that will allow you to get out of such a dark space, and everything will fall into place. I truly believe that. I think that there's something out there for everyone. But I also think that if you want to make that change, you have to be the person that makes that first step, because there are people out there that will help you. There are people out there who will talk to you and listen to you. And if you need medication, you need medication. But if you want to make that choice, if you want that to happen, you need to be the person that makes that choice, because it all starts with you and what you want. And that's something that I had to realize, that I couldn't kind of change my way of life by getting help from other people. It needed to come from me first. I needed to make that first step to be like, this is what I'm going through. I need help with this. And it's just about getting to that point And it's so difficult. It could take you years. It could take you, I don't know, it could take forever. But as soon as you make that step, everything will fall into place.
Wow.
And that's what I think.
Wow. Incredible. Whoever listened to that, I hope they just said wow as well. I really do. And I think just to end then on the final part is when you look back at yourself, well, if you could go back in time and speak to your younger self, who had all these things coming up, what would you say to him?
I love you. I love you for you. And don't change. Because I don't think I'd be the person I am today without all of the things that have happened to me. Because I'm a fucking hoot. And I do. I would tell him that I love him and that it takes time and patience. But there will come a point where everything will be in your favor and you can excel and you can be a little boy again and you can do all of the things that you've always wanted to do but never quite known how to do them, and that you'll have people that care and love you irregardless of all the things that you've been through. Yeah, I just love him. King,
love it, slay, King.
Slay.
Honest, this conversation has been an incredible podcast episode because it touches on so many different aspects around mental health. There's just so many different things that we've covered, and I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for opening up today, because conversations like this take honesty and a huge amount of courage, and I really appreciate you being willing to talk about your experiences. And I know that with the love of your family now that you have, your mum and dad, your little brother as well, and your friends and families, your communities, you're going to go on to achieve incredible things. And I'll make sure that I'm going to be watching from every aspect. And I think there's two words that kind of, for me, that summarize this entire podcast, and that's patience and acceptance. Because if you're an adult listening to this and you have children and they're going through them transitions, acceptance is important. Accepting their decisions of who they want to be. And there will be periods where the transition is difficult, and that's where patience comes in. And you look at your family now of where you are. Your new mother has now had an incredible amount of patience to get you to a point where you can see the world. So them two words are really important. I think what conversations like this remind us of is behind every person we meet, there's a journey we don't often see, and moments of struggle, resilience, and the people who step in to kind of shape our lives are really, really, really important. And when those stories are shared honestly, they can help other people. They can help them realize that they're not alone in what they're going through, but they can also help them realize what is to come as well. So again, Geth, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You have been incredible.
Thank you ever so much. It's been a pleasure.
Not a problem at all. And well, that's it. That's what the Forge Within podcast is all about. We're creating space for real conversations about mental health, identity, and the strength it takes to keep moving forward. And I hope you've learned that today. And again, if today's conversation resonates with you, please follow the podcast, leave a review, and share the episode with someone who might need to hear it. But look, until then, this is the Forge Within podcast, where we have real people telling real stories about how mental health has shaped their lives. And as you can see from today's conversation, we are shifting the stigma on mental health. So again, till next time, stay safe, everyone. Bye.